Greetings, everyone. We are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru on this Friday evening. I hope all is well. Again, I hope all is well. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you go to dynastymirror.com. Let's see here. What else? Go to oneafricaproperties.com as well. We're approaching 100K subscribers. We are almost there. Again, we are approaching 100K subscribers. We are almost there. Without further ado, we have brother MG2 on with us today. And he brought up a great point. We did a live stream earlier this week, and he mentioned something in regards to black men when we travel overseas versus other races of men when they travel overseas. And we're not saying, you can't travel to have fun or go on vacation. But from what he said is we're not building industries overseas, but other races of men are. And I was like, we got to expand on that. So, brother MG2, go ahead and introduce yourself and let's jump right into it.
Okay. I want to say first off, peace to the chat. Hopefully everybody, Black family, is doing well. A lot of folks probably know my other channel, Person Kid 21, but I don't post on that. I just use that for commenting and getting information about the world. And when I say information about the world, basically I do a lot of traveling. Sometimes I'll fill up 3 or 4 passports, more than most folks, even with the extended, what do they call it, the little visa things. I filled up so many over the last probably 30 years, at least 30 years. And I was able to see, and again, the industry that I'm in a music industry as well as I do a lot of trading and investing and things like that. But the music industry, I tour with artists around the world. Okay. And many of these artists you guys have grown up and know and listen to. Being that I've done that, I like to be an astute listener to what other cultures and other societies and other races are doing. And the reason that is because irrespective of where we are, especially in terms of Black folks, we are very, very altruistically have this feeling of brotherhood of man. We have this, collectivism of amongst other folks, whereas that is not reciprocated to us. Every other race looks at themselves as a tribe, clan, group, village, club, gang, whatever you want, whereas we like to include everyone. So I have to be really astute watching what other folks do, because that's their culture. It just makes sense. And the thing is everybody around the world is very competitive, okay, for themselves. When I go to India, and I think I explained to you earlier when I was in India, and I'll bring that story up on a tour with another artist everybody knows. And again, being an astute listener, everybody else in this world, to them, it's a very competitive, and when I say competitive, with us as Black folk, we look at this new term that they brought up in the last 20 years is multiculturalism. This brotherhood of man, we're all as one.
And I guess they don't see that, but we do.
Well, here, I'll break it down for you, Brother Dynas. See, King of the Mountain is not a multicultural sport. For every other race that's here, King of the Mountain is Hunger Games. Multiculturalism is Hunger Games. For us, it's Kumbaya. And anybody that knows District 13 or not District, what is it when they play the cannons for you? You know what happens. Well, not only are they playing cannons for Black folk, but they're doing remixes. That is where we're at because of our not looking at self, being very selfish. I'm sorry, were you about to say something, Brother Dennis?
No, I wasn't. No, go ahead. I'm listening.
Oh, okay. So when I see that, and I'm laying the foundation as to what I see in brothers, okay, and not just brothers, I say across the board. Because a lot of, I see a lot of sisters, they love to go to Dubai and Athens and Italy, because they think Italian men or whatever can treat them, whatever it is.
All right.
Italian
men love me. They love me. Yeah, I've heard that on Travel Noir, Yeah, I went to Italy and Italian men love me. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's the mindlessness that we have of not looking within self and being very selfish, because everyone else is competing, and all we are to them is a tool or a game or something to be fondled, and I don't want to be crude, but to use, it's like, oh yeah, we'll just use them as what we want as an object. Whether it's in Dubai, whether it's brothers going to Brazil, whether it's sisters going to Italy. It's everyone else does not look at us as quote unquote, whether it's business partnerships, military partnerships, or anything else. All we are is a tool for them to use and discard. Unfortunately, and again, I'm setting up a foundation because I had to give you guys kind of my background as well as kind of giving you a foundation is what I see when brothers talk about they're going into, Brazil or Colombia or Guatemala or whatever. Not saying you shouldn't go. Traveling is one of the best things you could ever do in life. Whatever you do, travel the entire globe and definitely focus on Africa. The thing is, or I should say Africa and African nations, okay, even if they're in the Caribbean or elsewhere. But the thing is unfortunately, due to the fact that we're not looking at self, and I'm talking a collective self, not an individualistic self. Most of them, anytime I hear folks talk like you were talking about sisters saying Italian men treat me well, or brothers saying, oh, I'm going to go find me a Brazilian me. I hear the word me, my, I, and I don't necessarily hear an us or we. Whereas other races, that's all I hear. And I'll give you guys some stories and some background of things that, on somebody, again, these are artists that you guys buy all their, you stream all their music, you've bought all their CDs. So, these are, most of the artists I work with are #1 top selling artists of all time. So I do have a little foundation to be able to say traveling, you're able to see a lot of things that most folks can't see. So the thing is other nations, okay, when I see brothers talk about, yeah, I'm going to get my freak on and whatever, again, that's an individualism, an individual mindset. Not to say that you shouldn't look out for your individual self. That makes sense. But the thing is I notice where every other race that is non-black are what I call collective or individual collectivists. Here's what I mean. Individual collectivists. Whereas us, even when we're going in and entertaining ourselves, we're collective individualists. What I mean by that, individual collectivists are individuals that work for a collective to go ahead and protect their society, their destiny, their people, their finances, their military, their schools, their health. Whereas individual collectivists are, I'm going to go get my freak on and such and such. I'm going to do me, my, I. I mean, look, all I have to say is 2 words out of an industry I spent deeply in, hip-hop. Okay, I hear more me, my, I, and hip-hop, especially in the studios. It only, screams that collective individualism. Well, the thing is, it's like trying to herd cats when they're amongst wolves. Those cats don't have a prayer. And that, unfortunately, is what's happened to us. Now, let's go ahead and get the brothers that like to go and not build industry. And again, It's not just, but I had to lay a foundation for you. When I go overseas and I see what other individuals are doing, and I can't put names out there because of the folks I work with, that's their personal lives, but I can only put incidents out there. Okay. There's one guy, he's in management, and I've known him for, 30 years. He's Portuguese, he's white or whatever. And I remember when he was living in a truck. When I first, when we started working together, he was literally living in his truck, had his family packed up, but he was in management. And within 10 years, I remember him coming up to me and saying, yeah, man, I'm starting to do it. What he was doing is he owns a lot of the, I won't say the venues, but the things that are, the staging and everything else. He literally owns it. Well, within that 10 years, I saw what he had been doing. He'd gotten into real estate and things like that. And I've always monitored him because, again, him being management, he was always kind of, like a conscience in my ear saying, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Right. He being an artist, it was kind of like, let me see what this guy's doing. He went from living in a truck. Then one time he pulled me aside. We were doing a show out in, I think it was Mexico or Colombia. And he says, and this is probably about almost 10 years later, he says, look, I'm going to show you something. Mm-hmm. He showed his net income. Okay. And it was net, 6 figures, and the first one was over 5. He said, this is what I built within 10 years. Now, in the same time, I'm touring with a lot of black artists, okay? Right. And some of them are, superstar celebrities. And there's a lot of black employees and whatnot. While he was doing that, and this is not an isolated story. This is a lot of stories I could tell you, like mariachis I work with. I could tell you with a lot of individuals. They go into different lands, and the first thing they see is it's almost that pioneering, conquering, colonization mentality that they brought from their European ancestry. In other words, they go to different lands and say, how can I set something up to bring it back to my folks? What can I take from this? What can I garner? I'm not saying just natural resource, but they're also talking into business resource. How can I build a business in this area, or how can I set up industry in there so I could bring it back to us. They have that mentality. Whereas the brothers, 99.9% of all black males that I've ever worked with don't have that mentality. It's usually, I'm just doing this, so I can get back to wherever I'm at, usually America or Canada or whatever, and I could go and buy this toy or buy this boat or put up this, again, it's that individualism, and it's not a thing of wanting to build industry. Now, the thing is, when I'm talking about the brothers that are going over there doing their entertainment, getting their freak on, again, like I said, I deal with thousands of people that are like everything from trading and investing to the entertainment biz, you name it. And the thing that I notice is these brothers that get their freak on, they go to these lands, and that's all they're doing is getting their freak on. In other words, they're just basically providing income to someone else. That someone else is going to pull that income and give it to their husbands and boyfriends and the ones that have developed industry for that land. In other words, they might go to Eastern Europe, and all they are is literally a trick, and the women might sit there and, oh, I love you, love you, love you, and all of a sudden they take that money and give it to the real boyfriend, or the ones that are running Eastern Europe, or the ones that are running Brazil or running Colombia, and then they're just waiting to see. It's almost like, okay, we're going to wait and see when your client comes back. I mean, it's no different than a John and a trick. Okay, I mean, I don't want to be crude, but I got to be real. That's just the way it works. The thing is we're in a world where, Brother Dynas, we're in a world that's so competitive, harshly competitive. Now that everything is basically easier to get to. And I bring this up on my channels a lot. I say the world is more, and especially after the quote unquote internet came out, it's more connected, it's more competitive, it's more needy, militaristic, cynical. It's more cronyistic. It's more sectarian. It's more, I mean, anything you want, you can get at any time you want. You can find any information you want about anything ever. The thing is all other races are using that to build industry, whether it's East Indians, whether it's, Hispanics. Just, I mean, all I could do is say, look at the Hispanic population in Atlanta, pre and post, 1990. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say it again.
No, I agree. I know where you're going with that.
Yeah. So basically, if you're looking at that as a foundation to see exactly how well the world has become connected and how resource has been so easily to get around the world, not just in America, around the world, anyone can get anything they need. All they have to have now is a cell phone. It's unfortunate that a lot of our brothers spend the majority of their priority looking out for their individual, I won't say hedonistic, but their own thing that gets them, the thing that's very limited, short term. I mean, I don't want to use very crude language, but it is self-gratification. And it's immediate self-gratification, where the gratification that other men that create industry, that do things, like I said, I've seen this over thousands of times over the last 35 years. The other men's gratification, of course, they're looking for a certain amount of immediacy, but the priority that they have is how can we do this for our collective? That's the difference in priority. Our priorities as brothers is me, my I. All I have to do is say two words, hip hop. Whereas every other race, their priorities are us. Their priorities are, it might be looking out for me, but I know I'm part of a collective. If I let them down, then we all fall. I was
make sure you hit that like button, guys. Please hit that like button as you come to the chat room. Please hit the like button. Also, link is in the chat. Michelle, you fell off, so if you want to call back in, call back in. Mustafa, if you want to call in, links in the chat room. Click on the link. Go ahead and call in. What else do we got here? Yeah, Michelle, we lost you, but guys, link is gonna be in the chat room. Let's see here. Somebody says off topic. Anointed One Sheba to the moon. Sheba's not going anywhere. Sheba will not pump to where it pumped to in May. But another coin. And guys, this is not financial advice. Invest at your own risk. Check out Bezoge. 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 Check out that coin. Again, this is not financial advice. Invest at your own risk. All right, go ahead. MG.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because in my, the thing is, I used to teach a lot of investing and trading, and this is like early 2000s before, GameStop, and everybody now is a millionaire because, again, bull markets make everyone rich, but there are no, everyone's a genius. But when the bear markets happen, like what I saw in the 70s and 80s, all of a sudden everybody's wondering, what do I do next? But that's a whole, I'll bring that in later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Mufasa, go ahead, Mufasa, unmute yourself.
Yeah, what's going on, bro?
Hey, Mufasa, we still got to connect. I'm going back to Nigeria next month, actually. I mean, my bad about not connecting with you in Abuja.
That's
But
all good. No, it's
when you going
in the
back?
future, bro. In the future, we're gonna have some business and some money to make while we doing it, so we won't definitely miss each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you going back?
Hopefully December.
Okay,
But
I'll be there in
I may be
December.
going to Kenya, so yeah, we're gonna see how business goes.
Okay, I'll
But
be
yeah,
back in December too. But go ahead, Mufasa.
okay, yeah, no, I had just you had asked me to call in. I just my question to the bro here: are you saying you think that black men are tricking more overseas than white men? Is that what you're implying here?
No, I'm not implying anything other than I'm saying priorities. And I don't care if white men trick or not. What I'm seeing is what I've seen over the last 35, almost 40 years in terms of
I was a
the
little late.
priorities that we build.
Okay, I was a little late. So you were you're saying that when you see other men traveling, their priority is to do business, and black men is just a trick. Is that what you're saying?
I don't say it that absolute. I'm saying that what I've noticed is other men build industries, and I can
Okay.
give you results of those industries. Whereas black males' priority is not that industry building because the evidence is here, the record is here. Here's what I
Okay.
mean.
I
Oh,
can't.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I can't dispute that. That's true. But I'll notice like because I've been to some countries now. Usually when I go places like especially like I was in Nigeria for 4 months. You know, I left for 2 weeks, but I was there for like 4 months. And typically if people see that you're from another country, especially in Abuja, where I was spending most of my time, and Lagos too, they'll assume that you're there working. You get what I mean? Because usually no one's going to Nigeria just for no reason, or some of these countries, they're not just there, um, especially if it's not like a travel country. So people have been brought there by work or something like that. That's usually why. So you'll see someone there doing business. Usually they were there, sent there for work, or they have some type of business or something like that. That's why usually you see that. But most people who travel, they're just going just vacation, you know. And most men, well, not most, but a lot of men engage in the women in whatever ways, usually tricking when they travel. So I didn't know if you were saying that black men had a higher tendency of that than others, and I was wondering where you were coming from with that. Because
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say just because yeah, that's just how people travel, bro. Men and women, honestly, if
Yeah,
they're going alone.
I do 56 countries a year, and I've been doing that for the last at least the last maybe 12 years. And
56 countries a year.
yeah, when I travel, when I'm doing tours, when I'm in the music biz, like I said, I fill up passports like people fill up coffee in the morning because that's just the nature of the business. And it's all over the
So
world.
four to five countries per month.
Sometimes,
Okay,
sometimes,
that's a lot.
it all depends on the tour and who I'm
Okay.
working with. You know, I remember one time out of 3 years, one artist. Actually, I was working for three separate artists. You guys know who they are. I was only home for 11 days
Okay.
Right.
and that was out of 3 years. So,
Wow.
so I do have a little bit, just not a lot, but a little bit of just seeing, part of where the world is. And the thing that I noticed is not to say, okay, brothers ain't nothing but a bunch of you know what's. What I'm saying is our priorities are definitely not. And the record shows, and the evidence, not just evidence, but the production you can see shows, as opposed to other males that are of non-African race.
Well,
What I
can I
mean by
ask
the
you
record,
this? Oh,
uh huh.
sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, here's the record. Here's a good record. When I was over in China, and you go to the quote unquote Great Wall in China, just like if you go to Kemet or anywhere else, you're going to see a Starbucks. Okay, literally, you will see. I remember I was over there, and when I came back down, we had a day off. I said, "That's a Starbucks right there. That's evidence right there that someone else, non-African, set up industry." And it's no different than mining that's going on right now. They're trying to find European. I told Brother Dinas trying to find lithium reserves over in Ghana, and I saw
No.
that evidence around the world. In El Salvador, they have this thing called compulsory chicken, and they won't let that export into European countries, but you'll see a KFC right next to it. That again is evidence of other males building up industry. And when I say industry, I'm not just talking about, oh, I've got I'm selling incense over here in Guatemala. No, I'm talking about industry that brings revenue, important, needed revenue to the state of wherever they're residing. And I do see more evidence of that of other males of other races than I do see of black folks. But go ahead. I'm sorry for cutting you off. You had a question?
No, well, the question I'm asking, I'm really trying to learn now. Are you saying that guys are going there for that reason, or are you saying that guys like some white or Indian or whatever race of guy, they'll be traveling, right? And then when they travel somewhere, as they're vacationing or doing whatever they do, they're building industry? Or are you saying that their whole point of going is just to do business? Which one are
I'm
you
looking
saying?
at the results of whether
Okay.
it's to do business or whatever. I look at the results that the priorities are showing that the priorities are that they've built industry. I don't see
Okay.
that same priority reflected in brothers. And I have many stories that I can tell you where I've seen that when I was in India. And I'll never forget this. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh yeah, I was over in India, and I spent a little time in India. I go back and forth, and I'll never forget when I was over there. It was on a day off, and I was telling Brother Dynas this story. Um, Again, I can't tell you all the details of who I work with, but it's someone everybody knows. And I'll never forget the three brothers and they were making some coin. They were making some really good coin on these, because that's an industry we're in. Well, we decided we had a day off and we were going to go and see one of the sites, for lack of a better term. The mindset for them was the mindset of, man, me, my eye. Look at me taking pictures. I'm a celebrity, that kind of mentality. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to go ahead and hang out with this woman, that woman, or whatever. And on the way back, as they were sleeping like little children do on a vacation after, they've had a hard day, I'm sitting there talking to the Indian driver because, we have to get one of their drivers. And he let it known. He said, look, I could talk to you because you have a different mission. You're like me. You want to compete. Your friends, and he's like, no disrespect, but our folks will own you. And he wasn't saying it in a very, like and the way he's saying, look, my son, the reason I'm driving is I'm sending my son here to this country. I'm sending my daughter and my other son to these other countries because they're going to set up industry and build industry. You guys like to come here and be entertained. And you guys like to have, he didn't want to like disrespect me, say, hey, you're looking for the women and that's good. That's what you want. We're gonna own the world as East Indians because when we leave, this is what we think about. We think about what can we do as our priority to go ahead and set up shop so we can set up industry. And that's not the only time. Same thing happened in Singapore. When I was in Russia, same thing happened. Bosnia, same thing happened, but to a different. The words were different. So therefore, over the last almost about 35 years, I collated all the incidents. And again, as a statistician, I say the statistics that I've seen is the priority of brothers is getting their freak on, entertaining themselves, self-gratification, very limited and not necessarily a productive mindset. Not to say we can't do that. I'm just saying the statistics, the standard deviation of us not doing that is really in the leptokurtosis, for lack of a better term. In other words, it's a very small probability that many of us are thinking like these other races that do set up industry. Can you hear me?
No, you want to add to that, Mufasa, or Mufasa, you there? I think we lost him, Mufasa.
Oh, okay.
Guys, yeah, we lost him.
So basically, okay. So I wanted to set a foundation because a lot of times, a lot of brothers may think, "Hey, you're pointing your finger at us." I understand that. As being a man, I really don't care if someone points their finger at me. You can tell me my faults or whatever, and if I agree, I agree. If I don't, so what? And if I do have faults, in the last 5 decades, I'm still growing, and as a man, I'm gonna still work and conquer regardless of how faults and whatever. But the thing is not to point fingers. It's not to go ahead because a lot of times we don't have the ability to actually have self-reflection, and especially brothers, we don't have the ability to have introspection. And a lot of that stems from 500 years of getting basically destroyed as a race. It's hard for us to say, wait, we better start manning up, start to go ahead, man up, stand up, and change our priorities. Hopefully, unless if that's what we want as our priorities, is to let others set up industry as we go ahead and occupy ourselves as being consumers of that industry, then so be it. If that's what we want, cool, let's do it. But hopefully we will not be perpetual and indelible consumers, and we will start to build for ourselves, for our communities, our families, for whoever we can, so that way our children's children cannot go ahead and say, well, I'm working for this manager, I have to speak this language, or I have to do this and the other, because that is literally where we're at. And it hasn't, what I'm saying is something that is nothing different that was said back in the past, my ancestors. Okay, it's just, we're repeating the same oft unfortunate, sojourn and not really getting things done, for self gratification. And unfortunately, repeating that is literally like, insanity, doing the same thing over and over, trying to get different results. But the thing is, what I've noticed, okay, and again, a lot of brothers, I know they get hurt, but it's not just brothers. I've seen sisters do it, which is even more, for lack of a better term, it's even more hurtful, because a lot of times sisters know better, but I could see that a lot of that stems from the relationships that sisters might have with brothers wherever they're at. So therefore, in their mindset is, well, hey, it's not working for me over here, so I'm gonna go to Italy. And that's even more hurtful, because that's the double whammy.
But it's not even that, but it's not working for them in Italy either.
Right. Now, you just read my mind. I could tell you some stories.
Yeah. It's not working for them over there either.
Exactly. It's painful.
Unless they want to get ran through by Italian Pascal.
Yeah. Pascal will not put a ring on it. Okay.
Yeah, and that's my point. Pascal will not put a ring on it. But go ahead.
Right. Yeah, and I mean it's double whammy, because of course the mother is the first teacher of your child. So they bring that concept to even the children that they bear, even if they bear them with the brother down the line. That same concept, that same mentality is always going to stick with us. It's like, the things that I remember, the foods I don't like to eat as a child, over 5, almost 6 decades later, I still don't eat those foods. I mean, it's so the thing is, when it happens to women, it's even more hurtful, because we're not only not building industry, but we've lost and a lot of sisters lose the ability to go ahead and teach to their young folks, hey, we're in a competitive world, we need to start building industry for the African race. And it's unfortunate on both sides. Like I said, our priorities are extremely skewed. Now I can tell you, like I said, I'm gonna give you the foundation. I'm also going to give you some ideas. You might want to think of as solutions. You might want to think of whatever it is. My thing is, I love black folk more than breathing, and I'm not going to leave this planet until we conquer and take over. Okay, I'm not leaving until it's all ours, and we have our destiny in our control, where our water systems, even if you're in Chicago, are owned by us. Our technology is owned by us. We don't have to wait for somebody to go ahead and say you have to go and get medicated for whatever. It's owned by us. That's my overall, again, that's my bucket list.
Yeah,
the thing is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I see people asking like, "Oh, what is Mufasa trying to argue?" I clicked in late, and I remember he was on the last show, so I thought you were just implying that other people were vacationing to do business and doing business while they were vacationing, and we were just tricking. But if you're saying that we do less business than other people, there's no way that I could argue that. So, I mean, I have no argument for that, And then Dynas asked me to call in, but yeah, I can't argue that, bro. So we in agreement on that. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, basically, Mufasa, it's more like, where are our priorities? And I'm gonna let you give you some causations of why I say this. Not only because of my travel, but the causation is really something that we have to look at. If we know there's a disease, we better know what's the cause of that disease. Okay, we better know, hey, there's something caused this to happen to us. A part of it stems from, of course, we've had over 2,000 seasons of colonization, of marginalization, of enslavement, of brutality, you name it. Now, with that, we have this again. It actually makes us almost, I won't say immune, but it definitely kind of hampers our ability to have introspection. Introspection is something that's so important that most brothers and sisters don't want to have. That's why a lot of times we feel like somebody's beating up. Like on my other channels, I beat up on our folks all the time. Reason being is because we know that we're not like that. We know that if we, in our right minds, when we start to think as a collective, we win the game. I mean, we could literally change this world in 24 hours as Africa. Right. We could literally, I mean, if you know the resource we have, not just physical, but the resource we have, and natural resource, and our human bodies and in our minds, we could change this world. But the causation of this is, of course, centuries and centuries. But again, what happens is we want to become what I call the aspect of celebrity. You see it wherever you go. The aspect of celebrity is we get to this point where it's like we either want to be a celebrity, we either want to get the attention of a celebrity, we either want to extol a celebrity, or we want to excoriate a celebrity. That's why you see folks talking about, oh, I flame such and such celebrity on Black Twitter, and and I explained that, or I dissed that celebrity. It's the aspect of celebrity, and here's something that a lot of us hopefully will digest. When you saw that 2020, and it's not just the 2020 elections. I'm talking elections going way back, and I can remember elections in the 70s. Um, what had happened is whenever somebody goes to a different, and this is again, Mufasa, this really actually reinforces what I'm saying about other races setting up industry as their priority. Whenever you see an election, and many of you folks know this well because you can attest to what you just saw in 2020, when the candidates go to other individuals of other races, they go with what, again, when a candidate goes to you, it goes to you with something that they think this is what you want to eat. They're not going to go, if you don't like bananas, they're not going to go with you with a whole bushel full of bananas and say, eat it. You're like, hey, I don't like bananas, I like apples. The candidate will go to you with apples because they want you to be a constituent. They want you to vote for them. When they went to other races, they went to the Hispanics and talked about, a lot of it was about immigration. We're going to do this for you. We're going to, and they went to the ones that represent Hispanics. They went to those with that kind of subject matter. They said, we're going to go to your representatives. And their representatives were about business, about immigration, about health issues, because it was very important to them. They went to the Asians, and it was basically almost the same thing, whereas the Asians had a little bit more in terms of IT and intellectual property and things. They went to the leaders or the representatives. I won't say leaders, I'll say representatives, because they said, hey, this is what's on their mind. When they went to our folks, they went to Cardi B. When you're so-called elected, they went to Lil Wayne or whoever else because they figured, hey, they didn't even want to go to Ice Cube. They went to whoever they thought that we digest. That's the food we eat. So as evidence of this mentality of celebrity, either wanting to be one, extol one, get the attention of one, or excoriate one, they thought, hey, the priorities, again, I'm always talking about priorities, the priorities of these Africans, they must want to be celebrities. So we're going to talk to what gets them going. We're going to tickle that fancy, where when I go overseas and I see industry, the same aspect of brothers wanting to go out there. Like I said, I've got millions of stories. A lot of them I can't really divulge because it is what it is. But millions of stories of when I travel with brothers, the first thing is, I'm going to buy this. I need to look like that. I'm going to get my freak on this, that, and the other. When I'm with other races, the first thing that they're thinking of is, they might want to get their freak on, but they're thinking of what can I set up here as a business? What can I do and to create an industry here where I can bring, and that's almost all the time I've been around doing that, especially Hispanics. When I tour with them, the first thing in their mindsets are like, okay, I'm going to try to set up shop here, and then I might get my cousin to work, even if they're in Europe. That's what I mean is evidence into what I'm saying. So it's just the nature of, hopefully, again, like I said, I know what we're capable as Africans, black folks, or whatever we call ourselves, Israelite, Moors, whatever we want to call ourselves. I know what we're capable of because we're the ones who started this world. Okay, damn near 9 million years ago. So we know what we can do. We've lasted longer than a lot of animals. So I mean, the thing is, it's not like we can't do it. Do what it is to secure and protect our destiny, and to create something as a future for those coming after us, and not trying to identify or not trying to use as a frame of reference somebody else. Okay, again, Brother Dinas, we talked about frame of reference, and this is again.
One second, let me. I got Miss Castro on here. I just want to, Miss Castro, unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about the last time. I could not hear you, but I was talking, and I just kept talking. But I really just wanted to. Okay, with this topic, this is kind of interesting because I looked at it and it was talking about travel, so I had to say something. So let's say before 1492. Okay. Black people have been traveling. Okay, we were already in Hispaniola in North America. They've already found what do you call it? With spears that were used in present day Haiti, or like let's say the Caribbean, where they were able to trace it to West Africa. Okay. We've always been travelers. We've always been interested in visiting new lands and just being explorers. But the only difference is we didn't kill everyone. We did not commit genocide, and we didn't enslave tons of people and bring them to the Americas to work for us for free. Okay. So we traveled a lot. Now, 1492 happened. Okay, Spanish Inquisition. Oh no, the Moors. We got to push them out. Okay,
Right.
so persecution, blah blah blah. 1400s, 1500s. Okay, you get around 15, 1600s. Okay, Portuguese, the Spaniards, kind of interested in. Hey, I was a little bit tired of those Africans trying to take over us. So let's enslave them and take them to South America. So, okay,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. So that went on. Okay, all of the European nations. Then, okay, we zoomed to the Berlin Conference. Okay. Oh, let's divide Africa up. And even though Europe was always a warring continent, okay,
Right.
they divided up Africa and said, hey, how about you take a piece, you take this piece, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, all the way up to the decolonization period. Okay, that was around like I would say the 60s, I think. So there was a whole lot of stuff going on in the United States as well as Africa and the rest of the world. Okay, so decolonization. Now, for a while, I heard some people friends that I have in Nigeria, they were saying like from 1960 to 1970, it was pretty dope in Nigeria, but something
Right.
changed. And that
Right.
same thing changed in America. That same thing changed in a lot of places for Black people in that same time period because the white power structure globally just said, you know what? These Black people asking for decolonization, they're asking for rights. And Malcolm X is talking about some human rights with the UN. We got to shut this down because we were talking to Black revolutionaries in Africa. We were talking to Black revolutionaries in Cuba. We were international at that time. But there was a concerted effort to shut us down from the 70s to this present day. So now we have this mentality. I don't like to say the N word, but that's how we're thinking like that now.
Right.
That was manufactured. Okay. That's not who we are. And we have to make that very clear. That is manufactured. In the same way they can institutionalize racism, we can institutionalize Black pride. We need to institutionalize who we are as a people to remind us of where we came from. Now, that's just the history of who we are and how we traveled before colonization. Okay. Now, we've been infected by this virus of how we look at ourselves and other people now. We look at them as something to capitalize off of, to profit off of, and to exploit. So, really, I'm not going to be so angry at the Black man, okay, about him going to Brazil, because I know that he's thinking like the white man when he came over to Africa, he went to the Philippines and how he treats the Filipino women there with the American base. They did
Hmm.
a lot of sketchy stuff. Same with Vietnam during the Vietnam War. A lot of white men were sleeping and abusing and assaulting Vietnamese women. So my thing is, we have to look at the historical record of colonization, and we have internalized that and we became kind of one of them mentally. So and how are we going to pull out this evil out of our head? Well, look at our schools. Do we have basis of education? Do we have institutions to teach us how to not continue destroying ourselves pretty much? Because I do think Black people should travel. I do think we should have industry, but we can't copy them. We have to do an African way of building industries. We have to do an African way of traveling. Let's not go destroy other people. If we're going to build industry, make sure it's green energy. Like, let's think of ways where we're not destroying the planet. We don't have to be like China. We don't have to be like Europe. We don't have to be like the other nations of the world that contribute to the CO2 crisis and the emissions. Like, why don't we envision something that is substantial, something that could be maintained, something that could go on for generations, something that reflects what it means to be African and what it means to be spiritual. So I think I have no problem with travel. I've traveled a lot. I've backpacked through Europe. I've been to Tanzania. I've been to Zanzibar. um, I've been to a lot of places. I've been to China, and my brother, he's backpacked through the Middle East. So I think I'm trying to come up with a understanding of what we really need to do, because we really do just need a game plan. And I don't think it's that difficult. I have actually a heck of a lot of hope for us. I think we just need to get our mind right. We have a lot of resources here. And if we just take care of ourselves and our family, eat the right food, that's a start. That's what I'm working on at this moment, getting people to eat right. Then you work on, okay, knowing your history. It's a step thing. Now, at this moment, I know it feels like you're doing everything by yourself, but eventually there's going to be, I'm also starting a nonprofit, but I'm not going to say it here because it hasn't been launched yet. But I'm trying to create a way to organize people who think like us in terms of progress, in terms of looking into the future, to organize all of this so we don't have to just keep saying it and it's like not connected. You know what I mean? And I think there's a way to organize this. I think it's actually quite easy. I also just contacted just a couple hours ago a friend in Uganda, and I was telling him my vision. And he said, yeah, let me know. I'll hook you up with some people here, and, let's see what we can do. I think I'm having quite positive responses from people globally. So I think it's just a matter of, we have to inspire people. We have to inspire people. And I think I'm more like a Malcolm X approach. Like, you have to meet people where they are. You know what I mean? Because even though I college educated, I did all this stuff, I'm not gonna act like I can't relate to someone,
Right.
whether they have like a history of being in gangs or if they've been incarcerated. They're human to me. So I'm going to sit down and pull up a chair and have a conversation with them. So we have to not let these degrees and not let all of these things that have been given to us distance ourselves from our humanity, because it doesn't matter how many master's degrees or phds you got, or if you're an engineer or a doctor or you own businesses, you're still a human being and you'll be buried like the rest of human beings in time. So
Right.
we have to really really understand what this is about. If we're going to build industries, make sure they're green, make sure they're healthy for the planet, because see, that's one thing that we can have over these other industries. No one has really figured out something to do with this climate change yet. I know I keep bringing that up, but that's a moment for us to profit right now, because if we came up with all of our scientists and came up with some green energy, use the solar energy. I mean, the Sahara Desert, come on. Like, we could put some solar panels there. Like, we got some things, okay? And then Africa is surrounded by what? Ocean. Use some wave energy. Collect that wave energy. Use it for electricity. Hydro. Okay, we got the longest river in the world, the Nile River. Collect some energy from that, for goodness sakes. You know what I mean? What else? The food is organic in Africa. Okay, there's no GMOs. Sell it. Sell it, trade it. I don't know. What I'm saying is, we don't have to do something out of the ordinary. Let's just do everything African. Africa has everything. Literally, you have cobalt, all of those conflict minerals that Apple uses. It's in Africa. Even when you're building atomic bombs, that uranium is in Africa. I mean, if Dubai could build itself just from oil, just imagine what Africa could build if we just
Right.
use our creativity. I'm just saying, like, we just gotta calm down and not worry about what China's doing, not worry about what Europe's doing. I mean, they're building their people, and they have every right to. But what are we doing? Because I really don't care what they're doing. You know what I mean? My focus is on what are we doing, and we
Right.
need
Right.
to. You know what I mean? We also need to be quiet with what we're doing too. If you're gonna start something, do not post it on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Keep it quiet. Don't tell everybody. We saw what happened to Gaddafi. We see what happened to Patrice Lumumba. We see what happened to our leaders. Like, let's be quiet. If you're gonna do something, do it well, and keep it quiet.
And,
You know.
Miss Castro, let me get Romy Peso. Go ahead, Romy
Okay.
Peso. Unmute yourself, Romy.
First of all, how y'all doing today? Can you hear
Romy,
me?
are you catfishing? Who's the lady in your profile pic? Are you
That's a young lady. No, no, I'm not catfishing. That's a young lady from Uganda. I'm in Uganda right now. That's one of my friends.
Oh, okay. Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Go ahead. Romy. Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to try to be as concise and concise as possible. And I don't mean to be the party poop or anything, but currently I'm in Africa right now. I'm traveling through Africa. Also, I have an MBA and I'm a CPA. So I know I'm I'm pretty well of how industry works and about business. And first of all, first and foremost, as black men traveling, we don't have, as a whole, we don't have industry in America. So that's pretty, wanting guys to go over to overseas and create industry. That's a pretty giant leap. because we don't run industry in America. Now, if we're talking about Africa, there's a lot of opportunities in Africa to start businesses. However, you got to ask yourself this question: why isn't industry big in Africa in a lot of these countries? These countries have a lot of minerals. They have a lot of I mean, just look at the Ivory Coast, number one in cocoa production, but yet they don't have any factories there. All the stuff is made over in France. They take all that those resources and bring them over to France and make the cocoa from there. So you got to ask yourself, why aren't those guys in their own countries not creating industry? Because they can't. It's not like people don't want to become rich or people don't want to become tycoons. People do want to become wealthy and have a lot of money and be, these billionaires on the cover of Fortune 500, but they can't. They can't because you have a power that will stop you from doing that. These people can't even have industry in their own countries. So how are we going to go over to these countries and create industry? Answer that question for me. How are we going to do
that? MG, go ahead and respond to that, MG2.
I love this, man. Your last two commenters, this brother just touched me like in a major way. And the sister, I can't remember her name. Is Kathy? Was it Miss
Castro?
Miss Castro. I'm gonna go ahead and say that you were the highlight of my year. Okay, you were literally. I'm like, my God, the stuff you guys are just saying. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Let me respond to you guys. My brother, you brought something so well. Again, it's about our priorities. What are we thinking of? What can we do? I know that we're capable of controlling this planet because we did it before. Here's what I mean. When you brought up not having industry, even in United Snakes, for lack of a better term, we're living in, and especially those that live in the U.S., that is one of the most liquid environments on the planet. And I'm not just talking financial liquidity. I'm talking liquid for everything. Information, connectivity, opportunity. Everything is there if you want it. But if your priorities are, I'm going to get a record deal and make some beats, and then maybe, or I'll try to go ahead and get and be on the NBA or whatever. Not saying that you shouldn't. I'm saying when your priorities are there, what happens is, of course, industry will probably be neglected in terms of mining. As my sister brought up earlier, mining, the priorities are going to be skewed away from technology, skewed away from agricultural. And look what's happening to the black farmer. I grew up and had my own acre plot of land when I was a kid. So I look and see, of course, we in these diasporas, for lack of a better term, in Europe and US, of course, we haven't built industry because our priorities have been skewed to thinking our industry is entertainment, sports, now social media, where most black revenue is coming in nowadays. I'm saying it facetiously. When you have that, unfortunately, then as my brother said so eloquently, well, they can't really, there's not really a lot of industry that can be built up. Whereas other individuals around the world, they know their priorities. They know that they put the things in the proper box that they have and not into the box of self-grandizement, not into the box of self-gratification. They put in things in the boxes that they need to be. Whereas, as Dr. John Herbert Clark talked about way back in the 90s, why do we not have our own school of mines? And now anyone that's in the resource, and I deal a lot in the commodity industry, most of it is owned by every other race, and they're all located in Africa. It's not like we can't do it. It's do we want to do it? It's do we want to set up industry? What are our priorities? And it was so good. I'm glad you brought up what was going on. And my sister talked about the food over in Africa. I'm going to tell you guys something. Ghana has the best pineapples in the world. They're how pineapples should taste. And I have to say, Kenya, I found out today that Kenya, the pineapple business is something a lot of farmers are focusing on. I saw it on one of the news channels. I'm looking at myself saying we can do it if we want. But the thing is when my brother said that over in Africa they can't do it, and I understand a lot of that stems from the aspect of the leadership, if you want to call it that, there, or the governance, for lack of a better term. It's not like we can't. It's what do we want to do? For instance, I mean, I'm waiting for a quote unquote African governance, and I use the term leader very lightly, that actually looks out for the whole of his people and not necessarily for what he can get because he knows his term will be limited. I'm still waiting on that day. I've been waiting since the 60s. The thing is we can because other folks are doing it. Other folks, as my sister said so well, I don't care what the Chinese doing. I don't care what these other folks are doing. I don't care myself, but I'm looking at them as competitors. And I know if they're doing that, then I know we could do 10 times as much. You get one of us, the moment one of us touched the basketball, we changed the game. The moment one of us, who wasn't even really all of us, got a golf club and they called him Tiger Woods, he changed the game. You give a tennis racket to a sister, she's going to change the game. The thing is other folks are in Africa doing what I know we're capable of doing. If we have our priorities straight, not thinking, oh, I'm gonna go to this country and get my freak on, and that's the highlight of my life. When we start to have our priorities, thinking, wait a minute, what are my 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, 50-year, 100-year goals? What am I thinking? What am I going to do to set something up, a foundation up today that 200 years from now, there's going to be a little African or somebody else saying, look, if it wasn't for him, this wouldn't happen. When we start thinking in those terms, or like Margaret Thatcher said in the 70s, I remember watching this thing on I don't know if it was Walter Cronkite or it was probably a young Dan Rather. It was back in the early 70s. And I think it was Thatcher. It was one of the British PMs. She said, unlike any other nation, Britain will look 300 years ahead. And even though she might not be around, or whoever it wasn't prime minister, it was somebody in governance. They said, we're always looking that far ahead. I've seen the same thing coming out premieres of the Russians during the Cold War, their Cold War, excuse me. When they have that kind of mindset, and then I talk to the mindset of our folks, even those that are in finance and governance and military, they're not looking in terms of what are we going to be like as Africans 300 years from now. That's part of priority, setting the priority right for industry. And it's not saying brothers shouldn't go out there and get their freak on. I mean, I'm saying our priorities have been so skewed, even on a localized level, where we all want to be, we all want to play in the Knicks or in the Lakers. Whereas everything else that we need in terms of manufacturing clothes, I mean, look at the foods that you eat are done by other folks. The water you drink, somebody else's. Let me tell you something. That spoon and fork that you use to eat your meal today, was it made by an African? No. Okay? The clothes that you wear, your underwear, your socks, 90% of us, the clothes are not made by an African using African resource that Africans are getting paid on with African labor. It's 90% of the things, and especially the utensils we use, the cup that you drink out of every morning, the lights that you screw in there, even though Lewis Lattimore was the one who created the long-lasting filament that everybody uses today, we still have to pay GE or someone else to get a light. That's what I mean in terms of when your priorities are skewed. Back in the day, they were skewed because we were conquered, colonized, and we, instead of saying, look, we're going to do for self in a John Henrik Clark way or an Amos Wilson way, we're going to start establishing, as a Marcus Garvey, establishing things for self, our future. We started to try to have our future blend with other futures. We identified with someone else. They became our, for lack of a better term, our frame of reference. That's why when I hear people say, I'm in business or I'm wealthy, when I hear the word black wealth and other things, I don't, or hear the term black media, I don't like to go ahead and point fingers and disparage, but I have to laugh because I love us. Okay, I piss black folks off because I love us. I laugh at you when you say black media or black wealth or black whatever. Why? Because unless you own and control all mechanisms from the production to the actual reaping of the rewards, it's not yours. And I'm talking all aspects of control of that. When they say black media, where are you broadcasting and whose satellites are you using? Were they made by an African country with African labor and African hands? Or do you have to go and pay somebody from France like Gaddafi had to do back in the day? One of the reasons why they had to take him out. Or that phone that you made, is it made in Korea or is it made in Kenya? The resources, where they were manufactured, is that money going back to Kenyans or back to the folks in Uganda or Central African Republic, even though they're taking the coltan out of there? Are they making the rewards because of the technology? My brother brought up the cocoa. And I saw that earlier this year that they were, out of centuries and centuries, Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast has finally got a factory that they're looking at, a proposal of a factory so they can manufacture something that the rest of the world got rich exporting for centuries. And that was cocoa. Again, until we start, when we start to change our frame of reference, when I hear the word black wealth, I don't want to be mean because I hear it a lot. And I'm a big listener. And I say that Dr. Anderson is one of my most, I won't say mentor, I'll say a jegne. Of all jegnes, I will listen to him before I listen to almost anyone else. But I come from an Amos Wilson type of mentality. When I hear that word black wealth, Wealth is not money, because the same money you have in your pockets still have the slave owners' faces on them. Wealth, in its very simplistic term, is to be able to collectively own, control, manage, and secure your own destiny for you and your collective, while making sure that your competitor has a trouble doing it for himself. That's why everyone else is wealthy. Others are building, owning, controlling, maintaining, and securing their destiny, especially in Africa and even in Chicago, while making it harder for us to be able to do the same. It's again, King of the Mountain's not a multicultural sport. Okay, it's Hunger Games. Okay, everybody else, it's Hunger Games. That mentality is literally, it's not like we can't do things. It's like, what do we really want to do?
All right. And so what we'll do, we'll go ahead and start closing out. We'll start with Rami. If you want to respond to that, then we'll pass it to Ms. Castro. Then MG, we'll let you close out. Go ahead, Rami. Rami, unmute yourself. Rami. Well, I guess he's no longer with us. All right, Miss Castro, go ahead.
Hi. So yeah, I really do like your points. As an MG2, that's pretty much what I align with as well. I think it's just we have to determine what we want out of our lives, really, because I'm tired of complaining. It's kind of stupid to me. I've studied Mandarin in high school and in college, and I learned a lot about Chinese culture, and I studied it since before they were even becoming a big, we call it economic power, and I've seen the growth of China, and it's just amazing to me how they could just change things within 20 years. They're now building like skyscrapers, building other countries' headquarters, and I'm like, well, Africa has like over 1 billion people too. And I just don't understand, like, what keeps stopping us over and over and over. We really need to think about priorities, because Black lives don't matter until our Black lives matter, until we care about our own Black lives. You know what I mean? And it's just something that we have to think about: what type of industries we want, what type of future we want. How do we want to travel? How do we want to be perceived when we travel? How do we want to be treated internationally? How do, when Africans do business in China, like, will they have a place? Will Africa speak as a continent to protect those who are studying in China or in India? We have to really think about the geopolitics. We have to think about, really, we need to understand that this is politics. This is about interests. What are our interests? And I know there's a lot of ethnicities in Africa. I know that there's people that, this person's from a different ethnic group, but Europe doesn't care. America doesn't care. China doesn't care. They just see us as Black. So, what I'm just saying is, let's use our brains. Let's come together. I wish I could kind of connect with people here, but I'm kind of trying to stay anonymous, but for safety reasons. But I would like to connect with people. I'm really trying to start from the ground up a plan that will actually work. Like, no joke. Like, I'm not playing around. I'm connecting with people internationally, and I'm not planning on turning back on this. I'm going full force on this. And I'm looking at history as my guide. I'm looking at the present and speaking to my elders. I'm reading books, and I'm looking into the future. So I'm doing a full understanding of what it means to be here on this planet from the time of Lucy to now. So if you want to connect, let me know before I disappear, I guess. But I think there are people who believe. I'm going to have hope, and just have hope, people. Just have hope. Don't be so hard on us. I mean, be hard. You could be critical, but keep that hope alive, because there are people that are still willing to fight till death to protect us, and to fight, just to fight for us. I believe in us, and I'll just end it at that.
Okay. All right. Appreciate you coming on, Ms. Castro. All right, MG, go ahead and close us out.
First off, Brother Dynas, I got to thank you for letting me speak to your friends and family here, and definitely your panel and friends and family in the chat. I can't thank you enough. I've been listening to you since, oh man, I can't even, a long time. The thing that I want to say is, I said I'm gonna give you some solutions. Oh, and I don't want to use the term solutions. I'll just say ideas, because a lot of times we say, what's the solution? No, just some ideas for something for folks to ponder, and maybe it'll work for them. The thing, first off, is, what's your frame of reference? I always use that. When you start to think, what is your goal? What do you want to do? Not just for yourself. Remember, It's a collective. We're always going to be part of a collective. Remember, every other race on the planet is more Pan-African than Africans. Why? Because in Africa, we see ourselves as Igbo, or we see ourselves as Bamika, or we see ourselves as Crips, or Bloods, or Israelites, or whatever. But around the world, they see us as one word, and that's N-words. Okay, we're all the same. So they have a Pan-African mentality in terms of a frame of reference. Hopefully, we will see ourselves as all the same. And when I say all the same, is our ambitions and our goals. Frame of reference. A lot of times I use the term black person, and that's the only reason I use that term is because of the fact that it's a lot easier for us to identify. But when I say the word person, the first idea that someone gets in their minds, they might look like Brad Pitt. That's part of the frame of reference. When I say I looked at a guy down the street, or I saw this person down the street, it should automatically be in our minds that it looks like us. That's frame of reference. That's number one. Number two is you have to have inventory. Now, it's not like, I mean, again, these are just ideas to ponder. Inventory is so important right now. Not just inventory of your bank account, how much food you have. If you're like me, a prepper, many gallons of water. Inventory is also your relationships around your immediate family and friends, and also those online. What are your inventory? Where do you spend the majority of your time? Do you spend the majority of your time on gender wars or xenophobic wars and whatever, immigrants? Where do you spend your time? Is that part of your inventory? Hopefully that our priorities will be our inventory of those that are going to be productive, where we could establish industry, establish a future, again, not just for the next 20 years, but the next 200. What is your inventory? Your time management, time you spend talking to folks, relating to folks about what topics you relate on. Can you build something at the end of the day of every conversation you have with someone? Have you developed something that's new technology, industry, or idea that's going to go ahead and further not only yourself, but 200 years down the line, every African? That is part of inventory. Next is priorities. Priorities are so important. Priorities are the things of what are the things that impassion you the most, that make you get up and say, this is why I'm breathing today. Priorities are so important. When you look at the African priorities, look at the governance on the continent. I'm talking almost every African country. Not just there, but even look at black mayors that are in Atlanta, or the black mayors in Maryland. What are the priorities, okay, in terms of, what do we see? And I'm just saying leadership, but also yourself. What are your priorities? The things that you know that are important. What are you going to focus on the most that'll definitely be able, at the end of the day, if you say, I've done this, this priority gave me this much of something that I did than the day before. That is so important. Are our priorities getting our freak on? Or are our priorities going ahead and trying to set up industry? Trying to set up, or at least getting the idea of setting up industry? What is our priority? Once you've set that up, the next step is to go ahead and formulate. Once you have your inventory, once you have your priorities, now you can go ahead and formulate, this is my objective. Some folks will say a plan or whatever it is. My objective is I'm going to, and you can fill in the blank, whatever it is. Is that thing you're going to fill the blank in, and all the steps to do it, are they going to be part of your inventory, part of your priority? Those are the things that I've seen with every other race. Like I said, I could tell y'all some stories that'll make your hair rise. One real case in point, real quick. I was in Mexico, and I was with a bunch of Latinos, and they knew that I'm a commodity trader. I developed a trading strategy they call the Holy Grail and all this other stuff. And I was teaching black folks free for 4 years, free, 7 nights a week, 4 hours a night, teaching them trading, investing, whatever they wanted. Anything anyone, I went and bought books, whatever anybody wanted. I never charged a nickel, because my priorities is not thinking, we're going to be rich, whatever. My thing is like, we can build whatever we are spending other folks to get, water, food, medical care. Maybe we could go ahead and one day do it for ourselves. So I was in Mexico with these mariachis. I'll never forget this. We sat there and we were eating, and they were like, yeah, we know you're into trading and that. So as a quid pro quo, I decided to just say, okay, well, this is what I do, into silver, because I know Mexico had a big silver industry. So I said, this is what I do. This, again, it was like maybe a 10 or not even 10-minute conversation. But they were soaking it in so well, that 8 years later, the same black folks that I had, a lot of them fell off from wanting to learn investment or whatever. The same black folks, I was getting calls like, hey, man, are you still teaching again? Because I need this, and this ain't going good, and that. And I was like, well, I don't do it as much. But the Mexicans I was around that had a 10-minute conversation there was almost nothing of what I taught black folks 4 hours a night, 7 days a week for 4 years. In that 8 years, they used that 10 minutes of what I told them about the silver industry. 2 of them now own silver mines. They own franchises of restaurants. They parlayed everything that I said in 10 minutes of what I taught black folks, 10 minutes into literally owning industry. They were serious, okay? And it was a quid pro quo. They had said, okay, I'll talk to you about this. Give me some of what I need. And it was just amazing to see just how well they did in terms of, because their priorities were not, oh, he's just saying, their priorities are, we're going to use this for us. And when I got a call back from one of them saying, you know, now we're doing an acquisition of a silver mine, and we just, you know, on something that you told us, you know, we just need a little bit more insight. I was like, it really hurt me, because I was like, what you guys got was like a crumb according to a full bouquet 9-course dinner that black folks got, and you guys built this in 8 years. It's not like we can't. It's what do we want to do? Just ask yourself when you get up in the morning, what do you really want to do? At the end of the day, what do you want the end of your day to reflect? Who are you? Who do you know? What do you want to do? And are you going to get it done? On that note, I got to thank all of you guys. Brother Dynas, like I always said, you're a superstar. And I do appreciate you, your chat, and your panel. So you guys, I got to say hotep and all the best.
Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynas and Mirror, search for Uhuru. Peace.